Good evening, friends. It's Ashley Burgess here today, and today we're going to be doing our Q&A, or this evening we're going to be doing our Q&A live communication, live chat here, live on social media, live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube. So if you're joining us for the first time this evening, we have a tendency of being a little fluid with the timing because I do see clients on a daily basis. So sometimes run a little late. But today we're running a little late. All is good. All is good. So I'm glad everybody's joining us. Come on in and join. We are here. All is good. Stuff is good. So I like, I don't want to steer the conversation to any direction or any way. So, like with the radio shows, there's a direction that we go with, and I don't want to steer that, the Q&A today that way. So, obviously, this is really content by you, and I get to answer the questions. But a little bit about what's going on today in my life. Been working pretty hard. Been seeing a bunch of clients today, and we've had a lot of good breakthroughs. Been working on a lot of different things. Everything from core wounds to dealing with this toxicity and understanding where it started, and it's kind of fun. So the list goes on. So we're doing good. So a lot of good breakthroughs today. A lot of interesting conversations and a lot of communication and introspection that really goes to the heart of what we're doing. So that's pretty powerful. Damien, great to see you. Mary Beth, great to see you. Zen and me, great to see you. Ahmed, great to see you. How are you doing? Don, great to see you. How are you doing? I am a little sleepy, Ahmed. It's been a great day. Always good things. Started off really early. We actually recorded a live show early this morning, with a guest out of Portugal. And so that was really good. I think the AC has gone off. Can you check that? George is going to check to make sure we don't bake in here. But yeah, so that was really good. So we did that. And then working on some of the uploads from some of the previous shows, making sure that's up. George has been working on that, which is so great. And, in the meantime, I have a new, so I have two of the master classes that are up, and we finished a third one, and we'll be putting that up here pretty soon, putting that up on the website. It's done, but we're kind of, we've had a lot of other stuff to do, so we haven't really worked on that. But, today, it's interesting because today I think, when we're dealing with our lives and we're trying to figure out, where we are and what we're doing, it's interesting because some of the situations in our life can feel overwhelming, toxic. It can feel as if, why did I make this choice? Why did I choose this relationship? That sort of thing. And it's interesting because a lot of times we can really beat ourselves up for something. Like we can beat ourselves up based on, I can't believe that I chose this relationship, or I can't believe I entered into this situation. How could I be so dumb? How could I be so stupid? And what I found is that there's no stupidity. There's no dumb about it. It's not anything about that. It's about, there's tendencies of us falling into certain patterns, and it's tendencies for us to not see it. And then there's perfect storms, right? So there's a tendency of sometimes when we're dealing with maybe a core wound that we're not aware of, and then having that perfect storm in a relationship that comes, and it feeds that, right? And so it's not that person's smarter or that we're stupid for falling into that or whatever. It's not about that at all. It's just a perfect storm to recreate and to trigger that core wound. And it's interesting because core wounds, activation of core wounds can feel you can actually feel them physically, right? So, and that's why it's interesting. And that's why also it can be hard to understand it, because when something happens in a relationship, We might not actually understand what's happening or what's going on. But at the same point in time, and we don't really realize actually too, how did this come about? Why did this happen? How did this happen in this relationship? But it can be directly related to that. By the way, I just posted a new video up, I guess 2 days ago or a day ago. It's how to stop thinking about them after a breakup. You can't stop thinking about them after a breakup, how to do that. Some of the ways that you can offset that, some of the ways that you can deal with the deflection. Because when we think about people after a breakup, we're deflecting from our emotion. We're deflecting from our feelings, and not all the time, but most of the time, the majority of the time, in those relationships that we left because of toxicity, we were unable to actually have emotion, right? We were unable to feel. We were unable to express our emotions, right? Because we were either told that what we felt was not right, or we were minimized, we were marginalized, we were made fun of possibly. And so what happens is that when we leave these types of relationships, and then we deflect and focus on on what's happening to them. How are they doing? Are they okay? Are they dating someone else? Are they having sex with someone else? Whatever the thoughts go into our mind, we're deflecting the energy on them that we need to be actually using for us. Because remember, throughout the whole relationship, we were probably minimized as far as how we were supposed to feel. We were minimized as to, kind of like the thoughts of how we should have or the emotions we should have. So we really need to start focusing on those thoughts. We really need to start focusing on our emotions. We need to start really bringing that in. And I think that's important. We need to start analyzing that. And so when we do deflect and think about someone else, we're actually subconsciously telling ourselves that we're not valuable. We're actually kind of putting ourselves down by the actual action, right? Of not actually looking to our own feelings and thoughts about the situation. And it can be hard because remember, this can go back to a core situation, right? Because many of you grew up in family dynamics where your emotions and feelings were not cared about, or they made fun of, or, oh, come on, just get over it, or here you go again, having a problem again. There's always some sort of emotional issue, making fun of, or just not listening. Or you might have always been in a family where there was always a trump card. Somebody always had worse situations than you. Somebody always hurt more than you. You see what I'm saying? And so those are the things that we want to look at. I want to shout out to Joella. Thank you for joining us. Shooter McGavin, thank you for joining us. It does feel good when it's over. Andrea, thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think everybody feels like the pandemic was a toxic relationship. I agree with that totally and wholeheartedly. Them having sex or being with someone else is a gift. You get time to heal without the Hoover. Yeah, that's an interesting comment, Shooter, because, I feel that a lot of times though we don't see it that way. So we don't see the fact that the other person has moved on and is in a relationship or being with somebody as a gift. We see it as rejection. And it takes a while to get to that point, right? And I agree with you, but it takes a lot to get to the point of seeing that as a gift that they've moved on. And I hate to say it, with some of these relationships, you're so thankful. Once you get to a certain point, you're like, please, God, let them find someone else. You know what I mean? Let them get out of my life and move on. But we have to get to a certain point to get that way, because a lot of times we still have the rejection piece. We still feel abandoned. We also are asking ourselves, could we have done something different? Did we do something wrong? What if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? And all those things go to really hurt us, right? They go to really hurt us in the end, because we're not able to really feel our feelings. We're still questioning what we did to make this not work, or what we did to create this reality. And so I think that that's something that is very interesting when we think about that. So my three loves, JSA, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Faint signals from Vega, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully it's not buffering too much. George, does it seem like it's buffering right now?
No, I got scared for a sec, but it looks good.
Okay. Yeah, we're hoping we don't have that. We are tied into the Ethernet right now, so we are trying to make sure we stick on here, because I know that it can be annoying when it's buffering, but God willing, it won't do that tonight. K-Clock, great to hear from you. My dad died and I was grieving and my job was too stressful, so I quit. I wanted my partner's love and support, but she was belittling and told me I just needed to earn money. And see, that's the thing. It's like that's a sign right there, is that when you're going through pain and suffering of the loss of a parent, especially a parent that you obviously cared for and you connected with, that's so challenging when someone would belittle you like that, and not be supportive and understanding. And I think that that's also kind of, it's a lack of empathy, right? So there's no empathy there. And I think that many of you here, being here, being in the Q&A, being a part of the channel, being a part of any of the social media that we interact with, are very empathic. And to me, I think empathy is a really amazing thing, but some people are not empathetic, and some people don't have that empathy. And so if you have empathy, I highly suggest you finding someone to be with that is also empathetic. Otherwise, it just feels like a losing proposition, because you're giving so much and feeling so much, while the other person's not really feeling for you. And so that's painful. And K Clock, I appreciate you presenting that, because and it's also that person's kind of seeing you almost as a robot, like you're not allowed to have those feelings. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do like this color, Faint Signals from Vega. I do like this color. I try to wear more of this color because I was actually looking back, and it's kind of funny. I was looking back at the Instagram video clips from some of the videos here on YouTube, and I'm wearing a black shirt in like every one of them. And I'm like, wow, that's, I don't know about that. It looks good. Kind of looks like a uniform, though. I swear I don't have a uniform, so I swear. But I do like kind of like pink colors. I do like reds and vibrant colors. I probably should wear more of it. So, being that we're in the summer too, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I do. I was like, it's funny though. I did realize I was like either wearing black or navy in almost every shot, with the occasionally one pink thing or something. So, Shooter McGavin, yes, it hurts like hell at first, but once you see it for what it is, it was the greatest gift ever. And you're right. Once we see things for what they are, that's key. But it's hard because a lot of times too, when we're dealing with a wound that we've dealt with for a long period of time, let's say like we've been dealing with, the fear of abandonment since we were young. Maybe mom or dad took off, maybe dad left mom. And, because we're a kid, we don't understand that it has nothing to do with us. It has to do with their relationship and problems, right? And we know that when we get older, right? We're always like, well, dad and I reconnected, or mom and I reconnected, or what have you. But it's still there at the core, right? And so what I found out is like the relationships now that we get into, especially the romantic relationships that we get into that are toxic, it can feel like the world is falling apart when we're going through the drama. It can feel like the world is coming to an end when we're breaking up with them. But really, a lot of this relationship is really the symptom from the actual core wound that we're dealing with, that we keep interfacing with, trying to work out, right? Trying to figure out. And it's just replaying itself in another type of relationship. But yes, you're right. It hurts at first, but once we see it for what it is, it does give us clarity. And then we have to get right with that clarity. K Clock, since we split 10 months ago, her mom died and she was fired from her job. If she had been there for me, I could be there for her now. But she is alone, and I feel sad for her. And that's challenging, and it's, sometimes that happens because people have to kind of go through that to have feeling. Like, it's very interesting. There's a lot of folks that in the very beginning of their life, it was very challenging and troubling. Like the beginning of my life was challenging and troubling. I don't need to go into it, but health-wise, it was very challenging and troubling. And I have a lot of empathy for anybody that's going through, near-death experiences, health issues, diseases that are unrecognizable or unfigured out, diseases that have no cures, that type of stuff. All those things I have a huge empathy for. But see, a lot of times when people don't have not gone through anything, they don't have that empathy. And so maybe she'll gain some empathy. Maybe she'll start realizing, maybe she won't. And I know that you feel probably sad for her, because you have empathy, because even though she treated you that way, you still have empathy for her. You still care. And I respect that about you. But let's see what happens. But definitely, I feel like people go through, I feel like people go through a lot of these types of things that they have to, and they're going to have to struggle through it. And maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe they'll sweep it under the rug. Maybe they're not able to actually connect with their emotions. And that's another thing too. Sometimes people just can't, they haven't been able to connect with those emotions. And so they don't want to get deep with you because that scares them automatically too, because they've never gone there. They've never gone deep. They've never gone to experience that. And so even if it's you, they try to throw that off, walk away from it because of their fear factor. The Mask, great to have you here. You want me to show you my feet? I don't know about that. I am wearing tennis shoes, though. Here you go. BJ Stanley, great to see you. How are you doing? Good morning. Oh, okay, great. It's good to see you. It's definitely a different time zone where you are, so I'm glad that you have connected in, and I'm glad that it was good time for you to connect in. Thank you for being here, Shooter McGavin. Yes, I do have a podcast. George, do you think you could put the link to the Spreaker link? So George is gonna put the link to Spreaker here. We've been on Spreaker for a while. We have the radio show, but started that in May of 2012 on Cumulus. And I remember it was a few years after we started the show, and I was talking to a gentleman about syndication for the show. And he said, well, you have to have a podcast. Do you have a podcast? And I was like, no, we're on radio. I mean, what are you talking about? And so we started the podcast, and I started on Spreaker actually. And so it all worked out and ended up meeting all the folks at Spreaker and still very good friends with some of those folks that are with Spreaker and still with some people that have moved out of Spreaker. And I'm actually working on a project with one of the folks that was right below the folks that he was pretty much running a lot of the Spreaker and the content. Was one of the first creators of one of the first podcasts in the world. So I'm way ahead of my time on podcasting for sure. But yes, George is going to put the link there. We've been on for a while. So let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know if there's some folks that you would like me to have on the podcast. We have some interesting interviews that we're scheduling right now that we'll let y'all know. Some interesting folks that have written some really interesting books, really notable, worldwide books that have really influenced people. So that's going to be some very interesting stuff. And also as well, if there is, there'll be time to time that I'm going to be doing some shows where we're going to be talking on podcasts where I can really do really in-depth interviews. So if anybody wants to come on and share their stories and be on a podcast and talk about that, that would be really awesome because, we all learn from one another. It's a judgment-free zone, and we learn from one another, and it would be great. So if you want to talk about something, I would like to do some longer podcasts where we really kind of talk into overcoming the toxic relationship, figuring it out, finding ourselves, working through the core wounds. When was the time that you realized that it wasn't, the spawn of the devil, that it was actually an opportunity. It might have not have been from them, but it was an opportunity that we could learn, those types of things. Rhonda, great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad that it sounds good on Facebook. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Fate Signals from Vega. Okay, your studio setup is better now. Good. Yes. Everything kind of works out for a reason because remember, we used to be, before we were actually doing this, we were at the studio all the time and it was just kind of challenging. So now it's nice to be here, right? Right? Remember we had to go up to the studio all the time? Yeah. Oh my God, with the radio shows all the time is crazy. But now it's good and we're trying to really get it together. I know it looks probably a little more cleaner. I've been organizing things a little bit more. So I appreciate that. Ollie, hi Ashley. I've been going through so much lately that I'm losing hope. Toxic relationship, abused at work, loss of my family member, isolated. It's been hell on earth. Well, we're here for you and glad that you tuned in tonight. You have a support group right here. And I'm glad that you tuned in. That's what matters. You know what I'm saying? And we're here for you. And, going through a toxic relationship, dealing with abuse at work and somebody that's over you, that's abusing you emotionally, mentally it's not good. And the problem is too at work is that, many of us, we have to have our job. And so it's hard. Bless you, buddy. We have to have our job. And so it can be challenging. And if you're in a toxic relationship as well, you don't have someone to talk to. And if you've lost a family member, you're mourning that family member and you don't have anybody to vent to or to communicate with. So I know that you must feel isolated. We're glad you're here. So you're not isolated anymore. BJ Stanley, wonderful privilege to hear. Thank you so much. I just appreciate you tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions. We're right here, and just good to be a part of the group here, and being a part and supporting one another. My three loves JSA. That's right. Yes, for sure. Let's see. Faint signals from Vega. My mother died 2 months ago. It's hard. It really is. I mean, that's it's hard to deal with the loss of a family member, because we have to go through the mourning process, and a lot of people don't want to do that because we don't want to deal with the pain, right? But one way or another, we have to deal with it, because we can't sweep the pain we can't sweep it under the rug. The longer we sweep it under the rug, the less that we work with it, and then eventually, what happens? We have to deal with it. And so, the thing is that we're going to go through sadness. We're going to go through deflection. We're going to go through anger. When you've gone through anger, that you kind of move to another step, because the anger of the loss, the anger of the situation, the anger of why, why did this happen? And then also, and kind of getting through the fact of then embracing the good times and seeing that. And it's hard. It's not an easy thing. So we're here for you. We're here. Definitely here for you.
Scroll down. Somebody donated $5.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. Here, I'll go down to let's see. Robin, great to see you. How are you doing? I appreciate you tuning in today. Thank you so much. Rachel Matto style. Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. That's good. That's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's see. Lori Richards, thank you for tuning in. I wasn't allowed to feel with a husband I was married to for 26 years. I finally got out of it. Congratulations, Lori. I know that that's tough, though, to leave it. It's not easy. It's 26 years. That's a long time. But if you haven't been able to have feelings, if you weren't allowed to feel, that's just part of the human condition. And that's so important. That's part of the human condition. That's part of, when we are not allowed to have, human feelings and emotions, and have our own thoughts and our own feelings and our own sadness and our own joy, that's when we realize we are not in a situation that's going to help us grow, and we're not in a situation where somebody's supportive. Now, they might be completely narcissistic. They might be completely have no empathy, and that's one level, or they could be so separated from their emotions and so fearful what's going to come out if they show any emotion, that we can't show any emotion. Okay. And so that's one thing, is that it's sad too. It's like, but that's not going to allow us to grow either, because they actually have to get over their situations. They got to get over their stuff before we can actually even be able to interact with them. And so, what I found is that you've done the right thing, and now it's just rebuilding you, taking that power back, really getting to know who you are, finding that true self of yours, finding your true identity, and working through that. And that's what we need to go through. That's where we need to go. And that's the powerful part. And so I'm glad that you got out of it. Now let's see where we go from there. Faint signals. Thank you. You dress great, Ashley. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Zen and me. I don't understand how a relationship, friendship, or otherwise can grow if there is no communication. I don't understand how a relationship, friendship, I don't see how you can grow at all with no communication. You can't grow, or with negative non-growth communication or anger communication. It's got to be something where both people come to the table and communicate openly and honestly about their emotions, and be able to communicate their emotions, feelings, and be able to be honest. Because I find that when people say, well, I wish they would be honest, a lot of times it's not just them being dishonest with you, it's about them being dishonest with themselves. If someone's not willing to be honest with themselves, they're not going to be honest with you. Prayers for COVID here. Suppress. BJ's. I understand that, and I know that y'all have been going through it over there. I do pray that things will work out as soon as possible. So prayers for anybody that's going through that, to overcome COVID. And also, to just stay safe. Thank you. I really hope things get better, Ollie. Ollie, we're here for you, and we do want to hope that things get better. Mark Anthony, hey, gorgeous Marco. I have a very bad flashback from my tour in Beirut. I can still see the whites of his eyes. I was a sniper. Sad for me. I have no empathy towards terrorists. Well, being in a war and being in that situation, unfortunately, being in the military, part of it is that. It'd be very hard for me. I don't think that's something that I could have dealt with. But, given the situation where I'd have to, I guess, we put ourselves in positions that when we have to do things, we have to do things. And I understand that you had to probably save your own life in that situation. And, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're with us. Cosmo, I miss my BPD ex-girlfriend. Should I call her back? Why? I just remember good memories and forget all the nightmares. Thanks for all the wonderful podcasts. All best from Istanbul. I appreciate you tuning in, Cosmo. I understand that you miss your BPD ex-girlfriend. I get it. And I know that you want to call her back. And I know that you remember all the good times. And I know that you forget all the bad times. But part of our programming to keep bringing them back in our life. Part of our programming is to keep bringing them back in our life. And so I ask you, when you want to call them back, what is the reason? What is it that hasn't been said? Is it that you wonder if you could have done something differently? Because I wonder if you've said and said and said everything you can say, and we're really at the point where it's that fear of being alone. It's also, did I do something wrong? I want you to really think about this. I want you to analyze this because this is deep. This is very, very deep. This is extremely deep. Because when we go back into the program and we recall this person and we call them up, we're pulling them back into our life. Okay. We're also, getting their hopes up, you know what I'm saying? And then the problem is that they haven't really worked on them and we haven't really worked on us to figure out why we get connected to them. They haven't had time to work on them. So it's going to go back to the same thing. And all I'm saying is that we don't want to keep reliving this over and over again. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to keep reliving this over and over again because that could be a problem. And it doesn't help us. It doesn't make us more powerful. It just takes away from us. You see what I'm saying? So we don't want to do that. So just, start analyzing each and every time that you have these good memories. That's fine. That's okay. But I need you to realize that with these memories and with this reminiscing, this is also part of the programming. I want you to start focusing on you. I want you to write a list of all the things that went down in that relationship that were painful and toxic. I want you to start writing that list if you can before you ever make a call. Faint signals from Vega. What are the best ways to handle the death of one's mother? I lost my mom 2 months ago. It's getting better, but sometimes I miss her terribly. The best ways to deal with the death of one's parent. There's no one size fits all. I wish I could give you a pill and say, hey, this is going to be great. Take it. In 1 week, you'll be fine. What I've realized, though, is that when we have the death of someone, we have to see the value of their life. We have to begin to see the value of what they brought to our life. And I'm hoping that you had a good relationship with her. If not, we go through that process as well. But, I feel that handling the death of a parent that we were close to, we have to begin with, seeing the relationship as it is. We have to begin to see all the wonderful things that took place in that relationship. We have to see the wonderful times that we spent. Hey, buddy, come here. Come on, come here. Come on, baby. Come on. You want to bring him over here? Oh, I don't think so. I think he's just like, sorry. Come here. Come on. I can't get to you. Okay. Oh Lord. I love you. Yes, I do. Okay, so seeing all the wonderful things that we went through and had in that relationship, with our parent is really powerful. To kind of write up a list of those things. I also think that allowing ourselves to mourn and grieve the loss. I mean, like really not trying. I don't want to wallow in it, but I think that grieving and being able to see it. But I also think that there has to be some light at the end of the tunnel. Because I think that if we don't believe that there's any light at the end of the tunnel, we don't see the possibility of her going on to something even better. And I'm not going to sit there and profess religion tonight. I don't want to go there. I don't. I want to stay in a realm of this, but I do have a spiritual side to that. I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that there's more to this life, and I think that there's more to the afterlife. And I think with that, it's like that's where I kind of take it to, because I believe that this is not all there is. And so I work from that too, knowing that it's not over for her. And I also realize that our memories and our togetherness is not over. I do advocate, though, one of the other things too is that, a lot of people, and this is something you might want to research. There's a lot of folks that talk about how our loved ones can come to us in dreams and be there and have some sort of, we can connect with them. And so I would advise to see that, I would advise to allow that to be, and to recognize the fact that they do come in a form to us. They can be there for us. We can connect with them. And it's not just because they're not here on this earth. I think that's still something to really kind of look at and analyze and realize the value of them, and how just because they have passed in this human form doesn't mean that all the things that they've done and everything that they were has passed. That still lives on. And we can definitely do a full show on that as well. Naz, great to see you. Thank you. I know. I thought that was crazy too, by the way. Faint signals from Vega. I'm in Tasmania. That is great that you have tuned in. Faint signals from Vega. Lost my dad 3 years ago. K-Clock, he loved birds, so I've gotten into birding, and I feel the spirit nearby. It's very powerful. That's the thing, is that it's very, very powerful. I've worked with clients that I've asked them to just be more aware, be more observant. It was interesting. One of my clients, when the father died, they were right before they were talking about feathers, and it was interesting because he was mourning so much, and he was so in grief that he didn't see, but there were little white feathers almost everywhere. Constantly, even in places in his house, there was no way, like on a second floor and in a corner bathroom. And it was very awakening. So it's like little things that let us know that they're there. Little things like that are not really little, right? They're kind of big. But we have a tendency of overlooking those things, especially when we're in grief, seeing that value. Faint signals from Vega. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do, Ashley. I find your videos and your whole demeanor to be beneficial and kind. I really appreciate you. Trish from Tasmania. Thank you, Trish. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you being a part of this, because this is what really matters. It's really good to have a good group of folks that we can connect and communicate and be there for one another. And I'm here for you. And that's the power of this, is that we're all in this together. We're all experiencing this human condition, having the same thing. And I find it interesting, when I run into people and they think that they're better than other people or whatever, or this person's this or that, or that. And it's interesting because it's like we're all connected. We're all the same. And being able to see that value and understand that we're all going through pain and suffering as well, and being able to help each other. And I'm here for you, and I so much appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. Oh, and Buddy appreciates it too. Mary Beth Rosa, what do you think of Landmark? My ex changed after taking that course. I don't really have any thoughts on Landmark. I think that people can take various courses and it can really help them. And I think that people can take various courses, and I think that there's also a concept of spiritual bypassing. But where people take courses, but they might take some pieces out of it, but they don't really get to the core, the heart of the issue. And I don't know enough about Landmark. I'm wondering if that's kind of like pathways. It's probably a training and development type thing. But I think that if someone's changed based on it, it would be interesting to tell me how they've changed and what way they've changed, because that could be very interesting to me. And if it was directly from the program, what they took from it, But also, I think that some of the classes are good as far as being like with success tips and working with, overall, um, I guess, personal growth. But I really think that sometimes we have to really get to the core issues before we can really get that personal growth that we need. Um, Yes, Naz, sweeping emotions under the rug just intensifies things. It sure does. It does intensify things. It makes it harder. It makes it harder because now we got all these other emotions under the rug that we're dealing with. We got all these other things that we're dealing with, right? And that makes it even harder to deal with. And then we're compounding other emotions on top of other emotions. And that's very challenging. My three loves, JSA. I lost my mom 3 years ago. I still cry. Just cried all the way home from the grocery store tonight. I miss her so much, and I understand your pain, and I understand that you miss her. And the greatest thing is that you had such a connection with her, and that's what's so valuable. Is that many people don't have those connections with their parents, and the fact that you had that connection and miss her so much is so powerful. And I wish that I could help you with that sadness, but I do feel if we're able to see, the contributions and what she contributed to your life and the value that she's there. And also maybe just seeing, is there any sense of her around, being aware of dreams that we have and being aware of people. I do feel like energy is energy and energy doesn't die. So, with that in mind, I feel like we have that ability to communicate. And I feel we have that ability to communicate with our loved ones even after they've passed. Other people do that for a living. I think that we all have that ability. We just have to be able to hone it. Let's see. I do and be here now, and I find it helpful. Thank you. Faint signals from Vega, and I agree. Naz, very sorry for your loss. I think this is. We're all connecting here. Melissa, thank you for your videos. Borderline personality disorder. You helped me to escape the abuse that I was suffering from my ex boyfriend. I am glad that you're here with us today, and yes, I mean, see, that's the thing is that when we're in these types of relationships, the real issue too is that we're speaking two different languages. I love you. I do love you. We're speaking two different languages and it's hard. And no matter how much you try to explain yourself or express yourself, it's not understood. Okay. And that's the real issue. That's the real crux of it. And in the validation piece, we're looking for that validation. We're looking for that acceptance, but we're not getting it. And we keep striving, and we're still not getting it. So Melissa, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know how you're doing, how you're getting through that, because once we go through something like that, we have to power back up. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing is that, I think that I feel like we have to power back up in that situation and figure out who we are, but also get to the core of our values, get to the core of our core values, get to the core of our core fears, our core wounds, and that sort of things to really move forward and take it from there, because I think that's powerful. Let's see. It is. My three loves JSA. It is like an addiction. Naz, I'm telling you, if you call back. Okay, let's see. Stu, is it true that anger is the last stage of grief? I do feel like we have to go through anger before we get to the other side. It's like anything else. It's like, and sometimes people will go through grief, and then they'll go through anger, and then they'll go through a sadness, and then they'll go through relief. And I feel like that's part of it. I mean, I don't think there's any one size fits all, but I do feel that I do feel that we do have to go through anger, because we're angry about the situation. We're angry about the fact that it happened. We're angry about the loss. And remember, anger is interesting because anger is kind of like the amalgamation of multiple feelings at once. You remember when you were a kid and the only real feeling that you felt was anger, right? Because that's all you could go to. You're like, I'm angry, I'm mad, because that was the only thing that we really knew. But I think that anger is fear, sadness. I think it's a lot of things wrapped up. And so, yes, and that anger, the anger of like not being able to stop it, the anger of not having control. I think yes, indeed. So Stu, yes, I do think, but sometimes people can go through an angry stage and then go back through a sadness stage and then recover from there. Some people go through the angry stage and then they're able to get over that and they're able to move on. and we don't, when we talk about moving on, we're not talking about forgetting that person. We're just talking about, being able to see it in a light of positivity and get to that point where we're not grieving on a daily basis. Oh wait, Stu, is it anger then acceptance? Yes, I mean, so then you have anger, like we just talked about, and then acceptance for sure, and then we're able to accept it. Not that it does, it's not like it goes away. I mean, some of us still feel the loss, but at the same point in time, we have to deal with that. And we have to process that. So, Buddy is so cute. Yes, yes, buddy. Hi, baby. Hi. Okay. Hi. Okay, hold on one second. Intermission. Hi. Oh, come. Oh, you're good.
Was it because I took off his collar or something?
Yeah. You want to put the one back on? Oh no, the orange one. He's so funny. You wanna go up there and talk? You don't wanna take over?
No.
You can answer the questions. Buddy has been here. Sorry, Buddy has been here literally. Well, I guess he's been here all day. So I apologize for that. He's been in so many sessions today, so he's a little annoyed, like most people would be. So I apologize, but he's here. He's having a good time, and I just like him to be here at the office. I take him to the office every day. He comes into the studio every day, and he's a blast. So and he's good to be around. So I love him around. So thank y'all. Let's see. Oh, thank you. So handsome, Ollie. Nas, sweet. Thank you so much. Faint signals, sweet little guy. K Clock, Spuds McKenzie, Carrie Marie, cute doggy. I love this. And see, he's a sweetheart. So he's with me all the time now. He's always at the office. He's always in the studio. So we're always having a good time. Zen and me, I had a narcissistic father who passed in 2020. I didn't feel anything except being free from his behavior. And see, that's the thing, is that when we really feel for a family member because they've really been there for us, it's painful. But when someone hasn't been there for us, then that can be even more painful too. But the fact that you were able to overcome that and to feel free. And I think that's because you were probably trying to jump through hoops for a long time and you could never get the approval. Because, a real narcissist is never really approved of themselves. And that's unfortunate. And so they don't really have love for themselves, unconditional. So they don't have it for you. And so, yes, I totally understand that. And when you have gone through that type of toxicity with a family member, it can be either like Zen and me saying that she just kind of felt free, or you can feel really angry. Okay. And there's two spots to that. Faint signals. How old is the little guy? Don't tell him, but he's turning 11 in a few weeks. So, I don't know. Every day I'm like, oh my gosh. Stay young. But he's good. And he's been with me for all these years, I got him as a little baby, and I've always adopted dogs from the SPCA and such, and then got him as a baby, which was the first puppy I've had, and just it socialized the crap out of him, socialized him every single day. And so he's really sweet and fun, and he loves other dogs. And it's funny because he won't even bark at other dogs, and he'll only bark when he wants to get my attention or when he wants food. Let's see. I think Faint Signals, I think she's a part of the one essence we are all part of, including non-human animals. Yeah, I agree. And I think, we're all part of the source, and that's what matters. And we're all here to help one another. We're all here to help each other understand, to guide them, to help them. And some people are not helpful, but for the most part, a lot of us are. We are helpful. And we're trying to help one another. Carrie, yes, dreams can be healing. Totally. Dreams can be healing. Dreams can be remarkable. Remember that dreams can be, pop-ins of situations like that. Also, dreams are a way of understanding our subconscious, what's going on in our subconscious, what's happening. Where is our mind really? Mike Washington, what are the best ways to replace critical self-talk? So that's an interesting question. One of the things that you want to be aware of is the critical self-talk, and then what are the consistent self-talks that you're having. Most of the time we have these broken record comments. What are some of those things that we have that's happening? I want you to start writing those down. This is going to start helping you to let those go. We need to see what is redundant, what's consistent. What are the things that you hear constantly? And these are the negative broken record comments. These are the self-sabotage that we deal with. Probably things that we, because of certain things that happened when we were raised, we remind ourselves of these. So if you can begin by actually writing down the repetitive self-talk, and the best thing to do is just write a list of every thought that you have in your head for if you can do it for 24 hours, you can pretty basically cover the negative self-talk, and then see which ones are consistent, which ones are reoccurring. Then we can begin to work on it from that, because we can't replace the negative self-talk until we know what's being said, and then we have to actually eliminate it, because we don't want to replace anything, we just want to eliminate it. And I know how to do that. And we can do an entire show on that. It would take multiple shows, but that's what I do with a lot of clients as well, is that once we get to the core root of the issue, the core wound, and then we understand, then I can find out the offshoots of what that negative broken record is. Then we begin to really take control of that and let that go. But we have to, I have to literally shoot holes in the negative talk. And so basically when I'm shooting holes into it, I'm basically showing you that this negative self-talk is not real. A lot of negative self-talk is all black and white. Actually, all of it is. Okay, right? So all of it's like negative. The negative self-talk, self-sabotaging talk it's all extremes, right? This always happens. This never happens. I'm horrible at this. This is never going to work for me. Those types of things. So start with writing the list and then look for what is repetitive. Take that list of repetition and then we go from there. And then when you hear that, that's when you start questioning, is this real? Why is this real? Why is this in my head? And then we basically, if you're working with me, then we shoot holes in the logic of the concepts of what those are, where they began, and then we go back to letting those go. So each and every time that comes up, we hear the thought and then we kind of see it for what it is, and we begin to slow down your thoughts and we begin to let that self-talk go. Because it's like any program, right? Right when we finally get aware to it and we hear it and we see it and we realize it and we're like, wait, that's not true. Once it's almost like when you have a friend with you, right? And so your friend's telling you stuff and they're just talking crap, you know what I mean? And it's just like BS. It's like, that didn't happen, and we're like, yeah. But eventually we go, no, that didn't happen. Or no, that's not true. We have to keep reminding. We can't ever let them be no guard at the gate, especially in our own mind. And so that begins with our own self-talk. K Clock, my dad is a bird spirit. I love that. Spirit animals. I love that. Yeah, NJMP, great to see you. No way, I love bull terriers. Well, bull terriers love you. Buddy loves you. Yeah, I love that. Let's see, Buddy, NJMP, as you've been a part of my journey to becoming the person I want to be. I am here for you. Let me know how I can help and continue to help. I'm glad that I've been a part of the journey. That means a lot to me already. So that's already powerful. What are my favorite desserts? Oh, wow. That's a good question. Food. No, let's see. Actually, I don't eat a lot of dessert, but I'm just going to come clean on this one. So my birthday was earlier in the summer, and a friend of mine got a cake, and it was a sprinkles cake. So the whole top had sprinkles like that thick, icing and sprinkles in it. And then inside was like a vanilla, like something cake. And it had sprinkles in it too. Oh my gosh. And I ate it that night and then came home and froze like a bunch of it. And then I've been eating off it. And I finally threw it out yesterday. I was like, I can't do this anymore to myself. I love yogurt. I love yogurt, love sprinkles. So yeah, I love that. I love cookies, so I can't process chocolate like I used to. I had my gallbladder out, not this Christmas, but last Christmas, and chocolate's not my friend anymore. But I love, I love ice cream. I love yogurt. I love cookies. I try to stay away from gummy candies, even though I love them, but they're just not friendly. But I love like gummy bears and gummy worms and all that stuff. Anyway, I love candy. You got me on a roll here.
And caramel popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. Jacqueline, great to see you. How are you doing? Yes, Buddy does have a heart nose for sure. He really does. And congratulations on your new puppy, by the way. Mary Beth, thank you for touching my question. You got it. And any other question you have? Tracy, Hey, Ashley, just ended a 7-year codependent relationship with someone with BPD. I'm struggling and feel like I'm detoxing. Yes, for sure. You are detoxing. That's normal. And I'm glad that you came here. Yes, first off, we have to deal with the fact of deflection. We have to monitor how much we're deflecting and thinking about them. The second thing is we have to monitor how much we are reminiscing. We have to recognize how much we're romancing the relationship. We have to recognize how often we have the program of wanting to reach out and communicate like we have in the past. Because usually in these types of relationships, it's not the first time that, we've broken up. And so then we have to realize the programming of feeling bad or sad. Okay, because a lot of that's too, we're beating ourselves up. Right? We need to focus on all these things. Catch how often we're beating ourselves up. Did we do the right thing? Did we do the wrong thing? Could I have done something different? What if? Oh, but they had this and that. And I had and I think that it's like really focusing on that and saying, okay, first off, I got in this relationship. I'm not going to beat myself up. There was nothing else I could do. I'm sure that you overturned all kinds of rocks and did what you had to do to make that happen. But now let's refocus our energy. And instead of wanting to know how they're doing or trying to busy our time, let's begin to look at ourselves and say, okay, asking those serious questions. Why was I in this relationship? Can I go back to a core wound? Do I have a fear of rejection? Do I have a fear of abandonment? Also, not falling into the programming of being lonely and jumping into another relationship. Remember, that's one of the things too, is that we have to get over the previous relationship, learn from what we were taught, learn from the opportunities and move on. And so that's the beginning. And so it's the deflection piece, recognizing the romancing, recognizing those things, recognizing the programming desire to reach back out, even though you know that nothing's changed. Not allowing the other person to talk back into coming in when they say that they've changed, but they haven't had any time to change. And giving that some time to really heal. Ramundo, great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Hello from Jamaica. I hope all is well with you. Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope all is well with you. I'm glad to see you. Buddy is very chill, by the way. Melissa, that's so cute. And faint signals, that's so great. Shooter McGavin, how do I get my BPDX to stop hoovering after she moved out? I'm afraid she is going to drive by the house and check on me. Well, she probably will. She probably will drive by the house. She'll probably check on you. But it's hard because, we have to we don't have to block. We just have to stop falling into the programming of accepting the communication as the way it is. We have to develop some boundaries. It's not okay to come by the house and show up. Okay, we have to develop boundaries on the fact too, is that if you really do care about this person and want something from them, they have to do the work. We have to do the work. Everybody's got to do the work, but we have to see the work. And that's another thing too, is hey, I really do care about you. If I didn't care about you, we wouldn't have ever been in a relationship. But at the same time, creating those boundaries and not allowing them just to pop back in on their programming, because, their desire to get back is going to be very quick because of the fear of abandonment, because of the fear of being alone. And then that also checks another box to look at, is that, is it the real love within me? Is it the real care about how we had our relationship? Or was it more the fact that there was that fear that you had and I was someone that could help mitigate that fear? And I don't think there's anything you can do to stop her from driving by the house. But at the same point in time, I feel that, the greatest work that you can do is working on yourself. And if she's calling you, or trying to stop by, say, hey, I'm really working on myself right now. I'm doing my work. I'm doing my soul searching. I'm really working on dealing with my codependency. I really think it's up to you to start dealing and working with you. And I think that that's kind of putting it there and not falling back into the old traps of the programming of let's try this again. And nobody's made any changes. And my three loves, giving kisses. Thank you so much. Cosmo, thank you so much for answering. Ashley, you are so welcome. Does Buddy get sunburn sometimes? Yes, actually he does. We can't keep him out for a long period of time. He actually gets pink, very, very pink, kind of like piglet pink. So he can't stay out that long. And, he doesn't like the heat that much. So, he used to like to go on long walks, and now he just likes to walk and come back inside. I think it's because he's at work all the time, so he has to come to work every day, right? So it's interesting when you take him to work. He's really happy. Melissa, I'm in therapy. I'm codependent and processing my childhood wounds that have helped me so much. This is great work, Melissa. Keep it up. when we process those childhood wounds, we understand the situation. We understand that it wasn't us being stupid or whatever. It was us making decisions based on our childhood wounds that connected these situations. Positive stuff. Keep doing it, and keep checking in with us. K-Clock, grief is not linear. No, it's not. Nothing's really linear for that matter. Ramundo, after 30 years, I still found unable to control my emotions. I'm polite to certain people, but maybe impolite to others. Why would this be? Well, it depends on what's going on. It could be a trigger. Somebody could trigger you into feeling a certain way. Somebody could trigger you back into feeling as if they're disrespecting or dishonest. That could be a trigger for you to not treat them very well. That's a possibility in its own right. Maybe you don't trust them. Maybe there's trust issues with some people. And sometimes that might be your defense to keep them back, and that's your wall. Stu, thanks, Ashley. Hey, you're welcome, Stu. Camera that we use, actually the one that we're using just for this is or for this live feed instead of our videos it's just a Logitech. It's a little Logitech HD 1080p camera, so it's about that big. It's small. You got a link? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm so far behind on this. Sorry. Men going their own way. MGTOW, the game. Narcissists are controlling. Yes, they can definitely be controlling. The Narc Files show. Perfect. Great to see y'all today. Thank you for tuning in. MGTOW, the game, and the Narc Files. Thank you for tuning in. I am now messing with this chat, and now I've lost my place. Okay, let's find it again. You like touch on one thing, and it's like so sensitive. It's like, oh no, I missed it. Okay, I'm going back down. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Douglas MS, handsome bull terrier, loves his mama, looks so content and affectionate. Thank you. Yes, he is my baby. He's my boy. So, yeah, he does look young, by the way. Let's see. Yes, we use okay. Oh, we use the Panasonic for the other videos, not for this one. George, we use the Panasonic for the other stuff.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, I meant the webcam."
Oh, got it. Oh, I'm behind here. Okay, got it. So you got the other one. Mm-hmm. Okay. What is the most extreme intensive BPD cycle you have heard recently? It's an interesting question. I will bring up something that I'll have to do in a video sometime because I didn't realize how often when people are in relationships with folks that have BPD in the very beginning, how often that individual wants to jump out of a car when it's moving. And that's something I definitely want to talk about. That's one of the red flags. When somebody's willing to jump out of a car when it's 50 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, however fast you're going, that's definitely a sign. Extreme intense BPD cycle, it's interesting. I mean, I hear every single day I'm working through this, and there's a lot of extreme stuff. I've extreme things. I mean, I've received extreme videos from clients where, this is what happened and stuff like that. So I get to see a lot of intense, extreme situations. And then we just work to, get out of it, to work through it and to understand why we got there and then try to help the other person as well in the process. But definitely there's a lot there. That's a big question. That could be several hours, Eddie. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Sarah Burns. Who had the most powerful voice? Wow. I don't know the first person you listed, but Freddie Mercury has a great voice for sure. I wish I knew more about Ronnie, so you'll have to educate me a little bit on what he's saying, but definitely I do know that Freddie Mercury, that's a good question. Freddie Mercury does have a powerful voice, very powerful, but Ronnie could too. I don't know, but that is a great question. Thank you for tuning in, Sarah. I appreciate it. MGTOW, narcissist sucks people's energy. It certainly does. Kurt, great to see you. It does suck people's energy. And we and the other problem too is we focus on it a lot, and it's hard. But you know what? A lot of our core wounds are triggered by narcissistic abuse. Kurt, great to see you. Am I good enough? Yes. Yes, you are good enough. Yes, but that is a question that we have, right? So that's one of the things that hits us with the core wounds, right? Am I good enough? Am I valuable enough? And that's based on sometimes, going through abandonment, going through these different types of pains that we go through. The NARC files show angry and set up and all of the above from MPD and BPD abuse. I know what it's like to live in narcissistic family abuse and workplace false allegations. Well, you know what I'm saying? And that's painful. And the family and narcissistic abuse is extremely painful, but the workplace false allegations are really painful as well, right? Because it's really hard. It's hard to, it's like that's supposed to be your family, right? Your workplace family. And it can be really hard to overcome false allegations, especially when people are spinning a narrative and creating a narrative against you. And that's an issue. And I feel that that's something, that needs to be looked at and needs to, and it's hard because, especially when you're dealing with stuff, if people gang up on you in the workplace too, that's a very painful and scary process, and it can feel like you're alone. And so I really appreciate you tuning in. Anything that we can do to help, we're here. Yes. And I do see clients privately as well. Faint signals. I do see clients online. We, Skype, I use a lot of Skype, use a lot of FaceTime, use some Zoom with clients that have the private Zoom, accounts. And also still do some phone. So yes, definitely. See a lot of clients from all over the world. So you don't have to be local. At the NARC files, I feel safe and alive again. We are happy for that. That is awesome. And that's where we want to be. Kirk, do I deserve success? Yes, exactly. That's another question. Or I don't deserve success, or I don't deserve to be happy. I mean, and that's a question, and that's something that we go back to, and that goes back to when we were children, usually, when we think about this type of stuff, and it connects with it connects with those situations, and it makes us question ourselves. And when we question ourselves, we come into every situation questioning ourselves, and we usually have a tendency of not doing what we need to do. So we underestimate ourselves. We don't believe that it's going to happen. We basically self-sabotage based on that negative programming that's been created from the core wound. And so it's kind of like, the pieces of this comes out from the core wound, and then we have these thoughts, right? And I have a video coming out soon, on core wounds, and I will try to get it out ASAP. We just shot it yesterday. But like the concept of like, if we're dealing with a core wound of abandonment, some of the thoughts that we're going to have is I'm unlovable. There's something wrong with me. Right. And if you think about like rejection, when you've been dealing with the core wound of rejection, I don't deserve a healthy relationship. I don't deserve love, those types of things. Right. Yes, I can, we can post that as well. Faint signals for Mega. We can post, the link to, online setup if you want to post to, yeah, you want to post that. And then that has, costs in there as well. I offer 30, 60, and 90, minutes. Some people, like 90 because they, it's good because there's a lot of backstory. And, George is going to send the link right now on. Oh, I'm behind again. Okay, I get it. I'm going to keep going. A lot of questions we ask ourselves, Kirk. Faint signals. I make a great vegan chocolate cake. Yum. That sounds really good. I love that. Benjamin Pratt, great to see you. Much love to you. How are you doing? Hopefully you are doing well there, dear. Nicole Platt, how are you doing? Do all narcissists love bomb? Not everybody love bombs, but some people do. The love bombing is usually, obviously I think it's not really consciously aware. I think that they subconsciously do it because they don't feel like they can get anybody otherwise. It's worked for them. And I feel like, it's something that and not everybody love bombs. So it's very interesting. So yeah, definitely not all folks love bomb. It is definitely a sign that you're dealing with somebody though, that doesn't believe, even if it subconsciously doesn't believe that they can actually connect with somebody on their own, on their own without doing that. It's also, a lot of it's just subconscious, and it's the way that it's always been done. It's the way that's worked. But that's a good question. Jasmine, do you know much about relationships with people who have bipolar? Why do they always blame their relationship, job, or living situation when in an episode? Well, a lot of times with the blame, there has to be somebody to blame. There has to be someone to blame because remember, if we don't have someone else to blame, then we have to take ownership of that. If we and that's really difficult for people because a lot of times there's a victim reality that has to be lived in. And so if there's someone else to blame, we can still be the victim. If there's nobody else to blame, then we have to change something. Then we have to go deep and start looking at what is it that I have to change within me. And that's something that a lot of people don't want to do. And that's something that a lot of people are conditioned and programmed not to do. And a lot of times that's because they were placated growing up or that was accepted, or they saw mom or dad do that as well. Vanessa, great to tune in. I'm glad you are here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see. Kirk. Hold on one second. Looks like somebody's trying to install stuff. No. Trying to see here. It's snooze. Okay, there we go. It's trying to change the timeline. Kirk, a lot of time we sabotage success for we think we don't deserve it. That's true. Hello from Sheffield City, UK. Sarah, thank you so much for tuning in from the UK. We appreciate it. Okay, faint signals. You have to go. It's morning there. Have a great day. Have a great morning. So I'm going to wrap up here in just a second. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Faint Signals, Young Ben Frank Sinatra. That's a great name. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you for tuning in. Stu, thanks for tuning in. Shooter McGavin, and thank you for tuning in. Zen and Me. Why do I always think people will walk out on me? I try to speak my truth, but I think I come across too deep or heavy for people to understand. Where does that come from? And a lot of times that goes back to our core wounds, when we feel like people are going to walk out on us and because it's in our subconscious, there's a tendency of people walking out on us, and there's a tendency of us connecting with people that will. Also, there's a tendency, because that's something that we're creating in that programming to make that a reality, is that people will walk out. And so there's levels of that. Where when we can, and also the fact is that maybe you're getting deep with people that can't get that deep. Maybe we're kind of setting ourselves up on that. And that's something that we could go into a deeper conversation. But I think maybe there's some abandonment piece there. Maybe there's some fear there. There may be some rejection there, what we need to get down to and really see where that began and how that started to really understand, because that's normal for a lot of people. That's not weird. That's not abnormal. That's very normal. And just understanding that is powerful. And we'll get to that. Kirk, thank you so much. I appreciate that comment. I have the voice. I appreciate that. Renee, great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Erica, great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. We feed the fire, try and go get people we like to love us, then gaslighting square people. I get that. It's we got to find the right folks. We got to connect, but we have a connection. It can be the perfect storm if we haven't worked through the dynamics we need to work through. Nicole, I'm so glad that you tuned in. Jasmine, I'm so glad that you tuned in. Erica, thank you for tuning in. How are you doing? Thank you so much. Jasmine, thank you, Ashley. Your videos have helped me during my breakup with someone diagnosed with bipolar schizo. So I'm so glad that you have tuned in. And any questions in the future, y'all can always message me as well. So you just go to ashleyburgess.com, ashleyberges.com. Click on that contact page. It's on the top of the top of the website, and you'll see the word you'll see the word contact. Click on that, and then kind of scroll down, and you'll see like a form that you can fill out and send it to me. Because any questions, I get to as many as I possibly can. But I really appreciate you tuning in, Jasmine, and I'm here for you. Q&As we do is anytime that I'm in town and when I'm traveling on a Thursday. So next Thursday we'll be doing this as well. Don't forget the radio show is on Saturday. This Saturday, it's me solo again this Saturday, which is good for everybody that likes relationships talk. So we're gonna do this. Stu, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next week. Kirk, we love you for all you do for others. Ashley Burgess, thank you so much, Kirk. That means the world to me. Stu, take care. All everybody for tuning in. The biggest thing that I want to end today's conversation with is that even some of the most toxic relationships, yes, we don't want to stay in them, but we learn from them. And if we just take enough time to get to know ourselves, to take away, to not deflect, to really focus on our value, to begin to look at our own emotions, our own feelings, to understand ourselves, to really process that. And then we'd be able to step back and even get to understand ourselves fully, because a lot of times we go, I just want to get back to the person I was before. We don't want to do that. We don't want to get back to the person you were before. We want to actually find the new you. We don't want to go to the fact of, oh, this is how I was, or this is what I was growing up. We want to find the feelings, the emotions, the values, everything that describes and depicts you as an individual right now, an independent person, not how you were raised, not the way that the family raised you, not what the family told you was important. We have to find that. And once we find that, we can clip into that, and then we don't deal when somebody tries to take over or tries to upset us or try to roll over one of our values. That's a boundary. That's an issue. And we can pick up on it very quickly. It's great to be able to know every single, symptom and sign of BPD and every single symptom and sign of NPD. And we can do that. And we'll go through that over and over again in these shows. But at the same time, it's great to know immediately with your gut, this is not right, because this is what's happening here. Okay. And that's where I want us to all get to that point where you go, you know what? That's not right. This is what I value. This person just ran all over my value, just ran all over this. And this is not acceptable. I'm not going to subject myself to this anymore. And that's where we're going to get. And I appreciate you tuning in. Zen and me, thank you so much. Shiba Dog bowing respectfully. I appreciate that. Very beautifully stated. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sarah, thank you for you. Thank you for your response. Zen and me, thank you. Ashley, Erica, the old me used to smile and laugh a lot more. Let's get back to, we can laugh a lot more. And that part of the old me is not bad. But we just want to get rid of the stuff. We want to change and transform some stuff that no longer is at our highest good. So the laughing and the having fun, that's at our highest good. That's a great thing. But sometimes we try to mimic how we were completely before, and that's not necessarily our highest good. Getting back to laughing, we need to find that within you, Erica, so that you can feel, you can have that again, have that laughter, because that laughter and joy is so important. Sean, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Ashley. You're a rock star. I appreciate you tuning in. That means a lot to me. I'm glad that you're here. The NARC File Show. Thank you, Ashley. Kirk. Dan Pritchett. Oh yeah, for sure. Love Dan. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Just remember, it's up to us to make these changes. It's up to us to find our value, and it's up to us to know our value. And we will work through this in these shows and in the Q&As and in the radio shows and in the videos and anything else, and any questions that you have for me, we'll find that. Because once we know our value, that's our power. And it's hard to find it sometimes because we weren't ever really told that, right? We weren't told that. And why we weren't told that is because either we were in a toxic family dynamic, or we were in a family dynamic that they didn't know their own value. Okay, so because they were never told about that they were valuable. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. And great show, great conversation today. Great live conversation. Radio show is Saturday, 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific. And just kind of guide, internationally, if you want to catch it, it's 1 o'clock Central Time. So, you kind of, figure out at what time that is for you on an international level. I'm not really sure what I'll be talking about. Maybe core wounds, maybe something else, maybe narcissism. I don't know. Maybe some clues into narcissism. So I'm trying to brainstorm to figure that out. I'll probably figure it out, Saturday morning. Otherwise I would tell you what it is now. But thank you so much for tuning in. George says good night as well. Buddy says good night too. He's laying on the couch right now. He's a happy camper. He's actually he's yawning. So I guess he got a little bit of his energy out. But we're going to take him for a walk here after we leave the office. But have a great one. Thank you for tuning in. Shooter McGavin, Faint Signals from Vega, Zen and me. I appreciate y'all. Kirk, the NARC Files, everybody that tuned in. Naz, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if y'all need anything. Please reach out, and I'll see you Saturday if you can make the show. And in the meantime, next Thursday is our Q&A. We're hope to do it a little earlier. We'll see. Sometimes I run behind, but thank you for tuning in. Much love, much respect, and just remember, it's up to us. Nobody's going to give us a Medal of Honor for living in hell. Okay, so we gotta really think about what is it that we want. How do we want to live this life? How do we want to participate in this life, and what do we want out of it? Is the situations and conditions allowing that? If it's not, how do we augment it? How do we turn over every leaf, turn over every rock? And then if that doesn't work, how do we move on? Have a great one. Take care, y'all. Good night and good morning. Bye-bye.